Hey, my name is James Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I've got this week's property news. I'm going to say it as I always do. It's another busy week. In fact, it's a very busy week. We had an update on the Leasehold Reform Act, which was very popular this week. We had a big update on the Renters' Rights Bill as well. We had interest rate changes with some lenders and so much more this week, including more taxation talks on landlords. So in this video, we're going to talk about all of the stuff that's happened this week. And before we jump into this, if you're new around here, we are literally so close now to 50,000 subscribers. By the time you watch this, we need less than 50 subscribers. So by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, interest rate news, property investing tips, and much, much more. So subscribe and hit that bell notification. And let's get some views on this video so everyone knows what's going on in the market. And your part's simple. All you need to do is smash like, tickle like, do something to the like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm. And that really has helped the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So a lot has gone on, as always. So first off, let's look at interest rates. What's going on with interest rates? Well, mixed bag, really. Since the Bank of England cut rates in August, we haven't really seen many lenders cutting rates. We've seen some little cuts here and there, but the bigger problem is they already priced these cuts in. So they cut the rates in June and July, and since then, we're not seeing much. In fact, a lot of lenders are creeping rates up. So most lenders this week actually kept rates the same. HSBC actually increased rates this week. So not great. So if you're looking for a mortgage, I've recommended this already to people, is you get a fixed rate now. And then should the rates keep going back up, you've secured the worst rate, the worst outcome for yourself there. And if they drop, you can switch on to that lower rate before you start the new rate. But keep up to date with your lender's rates. Keep up to date with your broker, what's going on. It's not so positive. We're not expecting some big drops anytime soon. So that's the interest rate stuff. National insurance. This keeps looping back into the news. And that's the fact that the government are looking to charge landlords, nearly said tenants, charge the landlords national insurance on their rent. Now, we haven't got clarity on exactly how that will work. A lot of people are saying, well, what would happen if I'm a landlord and I've retired? I don't pay national insurance anymore. I think you still would. I think you would on this income, this part of it, you would. And I think it'll be on the gross rent, like the Section 24 tax. And what a lot of people are saying is this will get passed on to tenants. So if you're a tenant watching this saying, great, tax the landlords more, what will ultimately happen is rents will go up. That's what's been happening. Landlords are leaving the market at the moment. The private rental sector is shrinking. More people need properties, and that's pushing rents up as well. So it's not great that landlords get more costs, because most of the time they get passed on to tenants. Now, not in all scenarios, but that's what's being talked about. It's back in the news. So is this something we've got to watch out for in the budget? Probably so. Mortgage demand. Let's talk about that. And lenders have come out this week and said, it's not busy. It's not busy. Why does that matter? And what does that indicate to us? Well, it shows us that applications to lenders are not picking up. They were busy in the first quarter. As we know, the market was very, very busy then. And they're saying the second quarter, the third quarter, and now this final quarter, the expectations are they'll pretty much all be the same. So there's no renewed activity in their eyes, according to a lot of lenders. And so what that means is you're not going to see an influx of buyers at the moment. Now, the problems that we're seeing for this are quite a few. You've got the economy is on a knife edge. It's very close to being in a recession, 0.1% up in August. That's probably going to get revised down to negative, isn't it? Like, let's be honest, it's not really a busy economy. In fact, the economy is probably just doing better because prices have gone up, so there's income generated from inflation. But yeah, there's no real growth in the economy, and it hasn't been for some time. So that's going to impact businesses. That's going to impact unemployment. Unemployment's rising. So a lot of people are thinking, probably not a good time to buy. And the big thing that's holding people back is the budget, the national insurance, the stamp duty. What's going to happen in the budget? That's what's holding back the market at the moment. Just all of this uncertainty. The government keep leaking stuff to us and saying, this is what we're trying, this is what we're trying, this is what we could be doing in the budget, just to see what the reaction is. And I think none of the stuff that's been leaked is positive. Maybe the only positive one that I would say is the fact that maybe you get time to pay your stamp duty. That might be a good thing. So mortgages, not lots of people coming in. That means there's not going to be an influx of buyers. So you're not going to see house prices on a tear early next year once the data comes in through that. Next, related to mortgages as well, is stress tests. Some lenders now are making, especially on buy-to-let, they're making stress tests less strict. And so that's interesting to see that. And so that means that what we mean by the stress test is you apply for a loan with them at 4%, they will stress test to see if you could afford it at 6.5%. Those are being reduced now, and that happened in residential mortgages. It's happening in buy-to-let now, and that means people will be able to borrow more money and more people will get approved for mortgages that maybe have struggled. So let's just say you got a 4% loan, you would have been stress tested to 6.5. Maybe now you're stress tested to just 5, meaning more people will qualify for mortgages, and maybe there's some landlords stuck on a variable rate that can finally get off it. So that's good. And the big two things this week, feels like a year, so much has happened, is the leasehold reform. So finally we got an update on that. That's been really quiet. And so what the government's committed is the Leasehold Reform Act. There's a new version of it, which they've been talking about for some time. It's called the Leasehold and Commonhold Act. They've said that we will see the draft of that this year. That's good, because nothing really has happened for a year. The Leasehold Reform Act passed a year ago, and they're implementing little bits, easy things, like, for example, you don't have to wait 2 years after buying a short lease property to extend the lease anymore. I mean, that was easy. No one really argued about that. So the Leasehold and Commonhold Act is going to get its draft this year. That will be interesting. That means that's now back in the spotlight. Things are moving forward on that. They've promised that they're going to look at marriage value, extending the lease to 990 years, speed of extending leases, and much, much more. So that's a big win. I've made a bigger video on that, which you should check out below. I've made a bigger video on all of these, actually. So how you can get to those is where it says Property Accelerator. Click on there, then click on videos, and check the videos over the last week. You'll find any of these topics you're interested in. You'll find a video on that. And the biggest news this week is the renters' rights. And so the renters' rights stuff is moving forward. And so they had the final debate on that this week, and it wasn't great, but it's moving forward. So look, it is what it is. We can't really change a lot of this. An argument was brought back to the table about pets. This one's a bit crazy for me, because they've said at one point that if a landlord will consider pets, they can take a bigger deposit, right? 3 weeks extra money as an extra deposit to protect themselves. The government argued, no, we're not allowing that. And so now landlords in the Renters' Rights Bill have got to consider pets. They can't discriminate against them in the marketing on Rightmove, on Gumtree, or wherever it is, like they have done previously. But it doesn't mean they have to take pets. And so, in fact, a lot of people believe that if you allow the landlord to take a bigger deposit, more landlords would consider pets, and that would be positive. Pet owners would win. So that would be a good one. But we're not seeing that. So pets is something that we've got, is just been struck out. Penalties. So they discussed about the fact that a penalty for a landlord only has to be proven to a civil level, which is a much lower bar. It's much easier to get a civil action against somebody rather than criminal. They were arguing that it should be a criminal, considering some of the fines are going to be 40 grand, right? So they're now saying that doesn't matter. It's still just at a civil level, and that didn't go very well either. This one doesn't make sense either. So if a landlord gets the property back to sell it, and then they put it on the market and it doesn't sell, and that is common at the moment because the market's slow, they're not allowed to re-let that property for 12 months. There was an argument put forward this week that should be reduced to 6 because councils are crying out for properties. There's a lack of rental properties out there. Why are we penalising the landlord for a year? If they're really trying to get rid of a tenant to put the rent up, they're still going to get hit by no rent for 6 months. By keeping it at 12, I think you'll get someone challenge that in court because they're going to pay double council tax for an empty property and still have to pay the mortgage. It's crazy. And so, yeah, this is something that they kept at 12 months. So we'll see how that goes. And the last one is the student accommodation. So right now, if you run an HMO, a student accommodation, you can run it on the academic year. But a lot of people said, well, we rent to students 1-bed houses, 1-bed flats and 2-bed properties. And they were looking to get the same terms on that if it was a student let. That got struck out. And a lot of people think that those properties will just go to normal lettings now, reducing the amount of student accommodation, which in some areas is going to be a problem. So we'll see how that one works out. So none of this really seemed to be logical. I don't know any of this, why it's stuck, but that is what all of that's been kept in there. So all of the debates didn't work. Let me know what else happened this week that we should have discussed that we didn't in the comments below. And if you haven't grabbed our ebook, Mortgage Secrets yet, how to get the best mortgage deal in 2025 and beyond. Thousands of you have. It's in the description. It's in the first comment. This will teach you how to get the best broker, how to get off-market deals, and much, much more. So grab a copy while you're here. Do check out all the other videos on the channel as well. Let's get that 50,000. Yesterday, we only need 50 subscribers. Yesterday, we got 68. So we can do that. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and hit the bell. Do check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.